everyone, we just saw Avengers Endgame. Normally, it's no spoilers and then a spoiler section, but this is going to be all spoilers. So if you've seen it, you're good to go. If you haven't seen it, you should. I gave you a whole week, and if you haven't seen it, please don't watch this. I promise you, the less you know going into this movie, the better it will be. So this is going to be really hard because this movie was a lot. But let's try to organize our thoughts here and start with the post-snap. Who do you think was the most affected by the change that happened?
Really, it's the world at large here that's just devastated. I mean, it's like the whole country just comes to a halt and all these people just don't want to do anything. They're too depressed really to kind of carry on. Are
they not doing anything, or are there just not enough people to do anything?
Definitely, there are people still working, but...
Security guards.
Yeah, security guards that we know of. But at this point, there's probably just too much stuff to like maintain. Like, you know, half the professional baseball players are dead, so you know there's no more baseball games, so you don't upkeep the stadium.
Yeah, when they do the overall shot, it just looks apocalyptic.
It's grimy.
But it's
there's
not
a
like,
lot of lights on. And
it was weird because it didn't look like something ran through it and just destructed it. It just looked abandoned.
I'd say the world's just a quieter place.
It is, and so our heroes, as I think everybody expected, they want to find the stones and start all over. Like, that was everybody's guess at the end of the movie. Oh, they're gonna get the stones and fix everything.
The goal is to go hunt down Thanos, kill him, get the stones.
I was really worried about Iron Man in the beginning of this movie when he kind of has his meltdown.
Oh, actually,
post coming back.
You know what he did? He kind of had like PTSD, and you know what? He didn't go on the mission to go after Thanos because he was basically recovering. He had a meltdown and basically gave Captain his
the middle finger and walked away. It was sad, and I was like, "What happened to Iron Man?" So that's why I kind of think he was one of the most affected because he didn't win.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, no, he was mad because he saw this coming. He wanted to protect Earth from the very beginning. Ultimately, he lost big time, and he was the one that was most worried about it. And he also lost Peter Parker, which was kind of like
the son,
his adopted son. Yeah.
So he has this weird meltdown, but they go to find the stones. They're gonna find Thanos to find the stones. We're like, yeah, this is it. We find Thanos.
Very quickly. I mean, this is all probably the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I didn't expect Thanos to come till the end.
Yeah.
Here he is.
So they find him on his farm, retired old man Thanos with his scarecrow armor.
Pretty beat up.
And apparently using the Infinity Stones takes a toll on you. So the next thing he did after that was destroyed the stones, which none of the Avengers believe. It's kind of my impression, and so they're trying to beat it out of him. And they realize that they're gone. Thor loses his mind because he just felt nothing but rage, and just like that he beheads Thanos, which
we're like,
it was such a shocking moment because heroes don't. That's like a Deadpool move. That's not your typical hero move to just, you know, kill first, ask questions later. But that's exactly what it was. It was just a straight up execution.
And then we don't know where it's going. So we're like, wait, maybe he had more to tell us, but he didn't. Like, he was telling the truth. I think that's what they realized, and they're like, we'll just kill him just to be safe.
Yeah.
So then they come back.
We'll do it on our own. No, I think when they realized that he had destroyed the Infinity Stones and he wasn't lying, at that point, all hope was lost.
Yeah, you could see it in their faces. I think that's why Thor takes him out.
And that's why Thor's like, there's nothing else we can do here other than end this madman's life. So then at that point, it's just, there's nothing we can do. Let's move on. And
5 years later, we move on. Which I was like, I didn't expect. I guess I did expect a little bit of a time jump based on Black Widow's hair in the trailers. But
there were definitely
when
clues
it said
in the
5 years, it was very heartbreaking because you're like, well, what?
There's a bunch could have happened in that time frame.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden,
the whole movie changes because of a rat.
A rat walks across the key panel, and we get Scott Lang back. Ant-Man is back, completely confused.
So the movie would not have happened if it weren't for this rat.
This rat saved the world.
Hitting the right combination.
But he comes back, and that's when he shows up at the Avengers, and he's just hilarious. So we get Ant-Man back, And I was worried with this being kind of the end, this movie was not going to be as funny as the Marvel movies we know and love.
Just down to business, because it had to be a lot of stuff packed in, into one movie.
But with Ant-Man,
there's a lot to cover, yeah.
Coming in, I instantly got my humor back. I think there was more a little bit in the beginning, but with some characters coming in,
no, I mean
it was funny. Like this movie was funny.
The whole first act was all about depression. I mean, it was Hawkeye losing his family, Tony about to die. But yeah, once Scott shows up, he just, I guess because he's new to it, refuses to believe that this is the end, and he's also the only one that's got the clue for what they could do.
He
next.
hadn't lived it for 5 years like the rest of them either.
Yeah.
But yes, he comes back with the idea on how to time travel, and we're like, this is it. Okay, this is how we're gonna get our stones back.
Can we back up 1 second? Because I want to say that so everyone's depressed, and Captain America's part when he's kind of talking to the vets or whatever that group was, the survivors. He's talking about getting over it. Moving on because there's nothing they can do. Did you catch the comment where he talked about seeing the humpback whales in the harbor? He kind of alluded to the fact that it's maybe a good thing that there's less.
We have to see
people on the Earth.
This is the beauty of what.
Yeah, like the world.
What Thanos was trying to do.
The world's moving on, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then just as he was kind of maybe starting to cope with it, I mean, I don't think he fully was, but just as he was starting to, Scott comes back. There's hope again. And then Scott comes up with this very elaborate time heist, loosely based on Back to the Future.
And I just love that scene when they're talking about every time travel movie and how it always goes wrong the same way.
Yeah, well, and it was funny because Hulk was like, well, what do you know about time travel? And he just basically lists everything from Back to the Future. Yeah.
But they create the time heist, which is really funny, clever way to come up with what we're going to do.
At this point, it's the only way. You got to go back in time. You got to get the Infinity Stones, and you got to unsnap essentially.
They have nothing else to try.
There's no other options.
In this time heist, we get some of my favorite parts of the movie when they split up into teams to go find the stones in different points of time.
Probably the most important part of finding the stones was Hulk's interaction with the Ancient One. It was actually the easiest stone to obtain, but it was really interesting because it created a way for the director to simplify time travel and how it all works and the timeline works. And basically, they said, hey, if you're coming here to remove the stones, then that then sets the world on a different course and creates an alternative universe. By that brief explanation, they came up with the plan that after they acquired all the stones, they'd have to go back exactly in time where they got them and put them back in so that it doesn't change anything else.
If you have any questions about the time travel and what they were doing, I think you just watch that scene and it will kind of explain.
I felt that was the best way to simplify it.
Mm-hmm. But of course, there's always weird things about time travel. You can fight anything about time travel. But in this movie, this is what we're going to believe. And I think that was the most important part for them to actually understand what they needed to do with the stones. If he hadn't met up with her and had that conversation, I don't know if they would have gone back and put it the way it was.
Probably at that point, the plan was half-baked. I mean, they all they cared about was getting the stones and unsnapping it, and then they'd have to deal with whatever alternate world they created.
Yeah. But
was that your favorite part?
I thought that was the most important part.
Okay.
My favorite part was going back to the original Avengers movies. Okay, I have two favorite parts. That scene, I loved that whole scene with Captain America's ass. Captain America seeing himself, and his old self thinks that it's Loki, and he's like, I could do this all day. He's like, I know. He's like, I get it. Like that. The whole interaction with Captain America and Captain America was hilarious.
Yeah, and the whole I could do this all day. There were so many throwback catchphrases, lines from previous movies. And you could watch that movie 100 times and probably keep hearing more things or seeing something else that you missed.
And I loved even the part when they go back to get the Power Stone and Star-Lord is there and the Patriot and Nebula are hiding and the soundtrack's playing, but then the soundtrack stops playing and Star-Lord is singing.
It's the title sequence of Guardians of the Galaxy where he's dancing along.
And we see it from a different angle and it was so funny.
It was so weird because he's just singing into a rat with no music.
And he's like, and we're like, this is not the movie I remember.
No.
But they flash back to a lot of different scenes, and I think one of the harder scenes to watch was definitely getting the Soul Stone. I don't want to talk much about it, I just think it's important, and that was the one time I think I really did tear up because they were best friends, and he's like, no, I'm gonna do it, and how that all went down was really beautiful. Everybody could agree that was a really emotional scene, giving us all this levels of Marvel again.
Yeah, you knew that they're both heroes, so they're both willing to sacrifice themselves.
But neither of them went there knowing that that's what was going to happen, because they didn't know anything about the Soul Stone.
That was the one stone that they probably did the least amount of research, and they accidentally drew the short straws because they didn't know. Actually, you know what? If it were any other group, I don't think it would have worked, because they definitely had a closer bond than anyone else, and neither one of them have any other family at that point in the movie. So well done, I thought.
Yeah, and even Thor going back. Oh my God, we didn't talk about post-snap Thor in New Asgard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Serious.
Time out. We need to go back just a little bit. So
I'll call him Heavy Thor.
He's fat. He's so fat. We see this new Thor, and he's got this big beard, and he's got these like dreadlocks, and he cares nothing, like, because he is like has given up.
He literally met the one baddie that he couldn't beat,
and he couldn't come back from it.
Yeah, he never rebounded, and so he just
drinks beer and
kind of crawled into a hole of self-pity.
But we get Korg back too.
Korg, gotta love Korg. Yeah,
but so when Thor comes back to the group, everybody's like,
like, he literally didn't want to come back and help.
He's drunk, he's lazy, he's funny, but he's like, he wants to still be the Avenger. I'll go, and everybody's like, no.
Yeah, no, he definitely kind of warmed up along the way, but in the beginning, and even in the planning stages of the time heist, he was just pretty much useless. He wasn't fully committed.
He's just there.
He was just there. He was still depressed, still drinking, but it was funny. I mean, they literally, Tony Stark refers to him as the Big Lebowski.
And it's spot on. He goes back to get the Reality Stone from when Jane had it, so we get a flashback with him.
When it's more of a liquid inside Jane.
And he's still trying to drink in Asgard.
Yeah.
And he has this great conversation with his mom. I think that was a really turning point for him. And he also gets his hammer, which I thought
that was
very interesting. He's like, you know what? I'm in the past. I'm going to talk to my mom. I don't care. And I'm taking my hammer. And then they get the stone and they jump back to current time.
Kind of wrap up probably the time heist, time travel stuff. I just want to kind of hint upon my favorite scenes, and those were the heroes interacting with their parents. It was Thor with his mom, Tony with his dad. They're essentially breaking the rules of time travel, where you're not supposed to interact with people. You're just supposed to kind of go in and do your thing. But both characters needed guidance. They needed something from their parents. They didn't necessarily go on that mission looking for that. So Thor,
in this 5-year jump, we didn't talk about either. Tony has a daughter.
Yeah, Tony was the only Avenger to actually move on right away and do well. He actually he wasn't on board with the plan to go back in time initially. He told them all to drop it, but
he had a life. He's the only one that
had a life.
Made a life.
He had moved on, but at the same time, it's still that same guy's inside of him that tells him, you got to make it right. You got to fix it. He had a really good conversation with Pepper Potts where she basically said,
you're going to do this.
Yeah, there's no way you're not going to do this. I mean, it's just in your nature. You're not going to be able to sleep at night until you figure this out.
So they've collected all their stones.
But in the process,
Nebula kind of messes unintentionally.
Short circuits,
messes everything up. Thanos learns a plan.
And
they're all back.
And then they swap out the one person that nobody would notice. Yeah, Nebula gets captured, and old evil Nebula gets to replace her and
the
come
young
back.
naive Nebula comes back. And so we have all the stones.
We're now back to the future.
They've made a gauntlet.
Tony's made a gauntlet, yeah.
And they decided that the Hulk is the strongest.
Because
and he's going to do the snap.
They figured he's the safest bet, even though Thor did volunteer.
And Thor would have been a good choice. I think they just didn't trust him because he was so drunk. And he was unpredictable. So it had to be Banner. Snap and everything comes back. But
meanwhile, Nebula has brought Daddy to the future.
Which we knew because they have the stones. This there's got to be a battle scene.
And sure enough, they bring life back to the world, and then immediately they're attacked by Thanos and just levels the Avenger building. Which I thought was an interesting way of separating some of the main characters so that they could create a really fun initial fight scene with the originals. You got Thor, Iron Man, Captain America fighting it out with Thanos, and it was really just Thanos on his own. Like he came down.
No, Thanos just sat on this rock waiting for them to come, and he sent his minions to go find the glove, and he's waiting for them. But yes, he ultimately fights with the three of them,
which made for some of those are like my favorite scenes. They definitely tried to work together a little bit at first, but then pretty quickly Thanos started beating everybody down. And it was tough to watch. Watching Captain America's shield, you're just crumbled. Like, made me wonder what the hell Thanos' sword was made out of. I forgot. At this point, Thor is double wielding, and it's a heavy Thor. But he like powered up real quick, like lightning in the eyes, and he's got his Stormbreaker, and he's got
the hammer.
I don't want to say
the hammer.
Mew Mew. I don't know.
So when he gets lightning and his suit comes on, he's got a new braided beard. He's got a new hair.
Full-blown Viking.
This Thor is probably the most accurate to Norse mythology, I would say. I think this is transitioning him into more of the Thor.
Classic Thor.
Myth. Yeah. So he's battling, and that axe is going into his chest. I have to say.
It was a reverse scene of Infinity War.
When it's going into Thanos.
And Thanos was pushing Stormbreaker right into Thor.
Because everybody guessed somebody was going to die in this movie, right? And I'm like, oh my god, I never guessed Thor. But this axe is cutting into his chest. And then you hear the hammer. This is probably the scene that gave me the most goosebumps, and like I think I might have gotten out of my seat. I'm not really sure. I definitely hit the people next to me, but the hammer's coming. I'm like, oh, thank God, the hammer's coming. And then it circles back, and you cut to Captain America holding the hammer, and my mind is blown.
Yeah,
my mind is blown.
I hope I'm not making this up, but I think in that moment there is a scene of Thor where he knew. He smiled or something. He said, "I knew he was worthy," or something like that. There was some line or some face, and I was like, "Yeah, that's like now it's teamwork." Yeah,
and then that battle scene of them using both the weapons together and switching out, like when Thor has the hammer, he's like, "No, you take the little one."
Yeah.
So that scene to me was so powerful. There were so many big things in this fight scene. He
starts getting beat down again, and it's just Captain America versus Thanos, and like that scene, it just had ups and downs. Several times over.
Yeah, you're like, this is the Avenger.
And it literally, it kind of ends with just Captain
getting back up,
and he's like lone man standing there, and then you hear the line,
"On your left."
And that was
you're just like, this is it.
Everyone's so excited that
and you get all the
because when you hear "on your left," and it's clearly Falcon, which he was dead. You know he's brought back to life.
I honestly forgot that they all came back to life, and I'm watching this scene and I'm just thinking about it, and then I hear the Captain, and then "on your left," and I'm like, oh right, everybody's alive again.
So, but I thought it was so brilliant what they were doing here, because at this point when they're fighting Thanos, his whole army's out there, and they're just paused. They're just waiting for his command to come in and just wipe out everyone else. And then all of a sudden you hear "on your left,"
and I got goosebumps.
And you see the Doctor Strange teleportation.
Everywhere.
Circles
They're
everywhere.
Springing in ships.
Full-blown guys.
Spider-Man just comes busting in through. Star-Lord comes flying in through one.
Well, Spider-Man came in with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because they all reappeared probably on Titan. I think it was Titan that they walked through. But just everybody. And I think Asgardians were there.
Yep, because Valkyrie showed up.
Yeah, Valkyrie was there on her Pegasus, which was really cool.
Something we hadn't really seen was Pepper coming in her super suit. And I have to say, our theater was great. It was full packed, and anytime we got a new face, they would cheer, and anytime we got an old face, they would cheer. When the Wasp shows up, the two of them together, and she calls him Cap. I laughed so hard.
Oh yeah, when she references Cap.
Yeah, she's like, Cap, and he looks at her. He's like, yeah, that's Cap.
We're on the same page now.
So then the whole point of the battle scene is to try to get this gauntlet into the van, and that was one of my favorite scenes too.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like hot potato,
and everybody
keep away, and so
it starts with Spider-Man, and then or does it start with Black Panther, and then it goes to Spider-Man, and then everybody is helping this person.
No, it started with
get
Hawkeye.
to
Hawkeye had it first, but yeah, then they just kept transitioning it, and Spider-Man had some really cool scenes where he was covering a lot of ground, and at one point Thor or Captain America threw the hammer, and Spider-Man web slung onto the hammer, and just like
catch a ride. Can we talk about the parts that we really didn't like of the fight scene? I think there's two, and all girl power people are gonna hate us.
Yeah, well,
but
okay, and it's not that we're against the girl power thing. Don't get us wrong.
Don't put it in our face.
It was just,
and it made no sense.
It made no sense because at one point, you know, like Peter has the gauntlet and he's kind of beat down, and then all of a sudden, all the women in this big battle scene just all happen to be
gathered
right next to each other, and they're like, "We'll protect you."
And I get it. They can. They're super powerful women. Yes, great. You could have just had them come in one by one, and I would have got the same effect. I think we predicted in our Infinity War review. You can watch here if you'd like.
Go back and double check that. I don't think we predicted anything accurately.
No, I think we knew that Doctor Strange knew that Tony would be a part of this.
We did say that, but I also made some pretty big...
But Doctor Strange knew that Tony would be the key to this, and he points to him, he's like, "What scenario?" And Tony's like, "Okay, I got it." Takes all the stones.
That was pretty epic because Thanos had the glove on, Tony tried to grab it, and he gets his hand away, and then Thanos thinks he won, and he...
Snap?
Nothing.
No stones.
And that's because...
And then you see Tony being like, "I got all this
sparkle power,"
and he snaps, and we get a dust scene all over again. But the dust scene that we wanted in Infinity War, we got in Endgame, and it was just
a very satisfying.
And we're like, yes, this
just destruction of all of Thanos' forces
have won. The whole time of this movie, I know that somebody's gonna die, and then you have that hope. You're like, we all made it. We all made it.
Well,
I mean, we lost
except for
Black Widow, and then we lose Tony. I think the second, probably most tearjerker scene is when Pepper is saying, "We're okay. You can rest now."
That was a very good send-off to the guy that essentially started it all. Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. That was one of my favorite movies for a long time, or probably my favorite movie for a long time.
So we lose Iron Man.
And I thought it was a really good moment that Iron Man was there to kind of hold Peter Parker as he was dying, and Peter Parker was there
to hold Iron Man.
All
right, and so then everything is back. Everybody's back. They've just happened to miss 5 years of life. They have this beautiful memorial for Tony. Everybody's there. And that kid, which after the movie, we're like, who the hell was that kid?
Who's that kid? And then...
He's the kid from Iron Man 3, if anybody else who's wondering. So Captain America has decided to stay with Peggy, which is really sweet because they finally got their dance.
Yeah, that was a cool scene, but again, if you think about the whole time travel thing, how many things would have screwed things up in the future because of that?
Who cares? It's Captain America. And then that's the movie. This was an epic movie. I loved this movie. I loved every moment of this movie. I want to see it again, not because I feel like I missed anything, because I just want to see it again.
And there's a lot in it. It will definitely show better on the big screen, because especially in the fight scenes with everybody. I mean, there's so many different things that you could find in there.
But we got everything we wanted. Not everybody got what they want, but it was a great Endgame.
I got what I wanted. I don't think Nick Fury had a single line in the movie. That was a win.
But this is it. This is it for Marvel. We're gonna have a whole new... I don't know. You got a new Captain America? Is he getting a movie? Those are our thoughts. I hope that you guys really enjoyed it as much as we did, and I could talk about this probably for hours.
I would be surprised if anybody was upset about it. I mean, it was so long that there's got to be a couple good parts in it to make it a good movie.
This was my most anticipated Disney thing of 2019, and it did not let me down. So that's it for Endgame. Thanks for watching. If you want to talk about stuff in the comments, feel free. I mean, obviously, it's been out a week. I'm not worried about spoilers. If a true fan hasn't seen it by now, then you're not a true fan. Sorry.
Tammy's gonna hate.
So feel free to spoiler away in my comments. My name's Aubrey. I make new videos every Thursday, so make sure you subscribe and follow me on all my social media, and I will see you guys next week.
Gonna take forever to download. Your videos are too long. Snip, snip.
Okay.
Edit that shit.